Hi everyone, DJ here with Tac Bracket. In this video today we're going to work on how to use the direct connect plate to use your outside the waistband holster and get it connected to the Tac Bracket. Again, the direct connect plate is a part that you'll receive with your unit if you order a full standard unit, and this allows you to basically connect your holster to the plate. This is universal. It has universal holes on it. Fits G-code holsters, Safariland, Blackhawk, Blade Tech, Forge Tech, or any of those companies that mimic any of those holes patterns by any of those companies as well. First of all, let's get started on this. Today we're using the G-code OSH holster, and we're going to, this is a Glock 26 holster. I have a Glock 26 blue gun here. This is a Glock 26 holster, and we're going to be using it to install on the Tac Bracket body. What you're going to need to get started here is you're going to need the 3 spacers and screws that are sent with your system. You'll need the 2 security nuts. These are special. They have a special pin security nut. There's just 2 of these. And we got a bit that we sent you as well. Not the screwdriver, but we sent you the bit as well. And you'll need a Allen key and some kind of marking pencil or marker, something you can see on the Tac Bracket to get the correct height. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is we're going to attach the direct connect plate to the holster. Now we want to get some spacing here because this is going to be right up against the back wall, and we want to get some spacing here so you can get your thumb down and get a normal draw on the weapon. So how we do that is we use spacers. Now sometimes if you have these little nuts that are included with the holster, sometimes you can get these spacers just to fit right on there and stay in place, which is kind of nice if they're protruding out, or you can reach inside and push them out a little bit. Usually those are just push nuts. In this case, I can get this to work probably on 2 of the 3 of these. The third one doesn't seem to want to work, but I can get it going 2 of the 3, and that makes it easier now to find the correct holes now on the direct connect plate. Now the direct connect plate has holes on the back. This side is flat, and this side has holes that are pre-sunk for these panhead screws. So we want to put the flat side against the holster. I want to put the flat side against the holster, and because I have 2 of these spacers already here, I found my holes here for the G-code that line up, and I want to just get those started. Sometimes you just get those started even by hand, a couple turns just to keep them in place before you go to your Allen wrench. Do the 2 that kind of stuck on there, and now the third one, I'm just going to put that spacer in place and then run my screw through that one. Again, the flat part goes toward the holster, and these holes that have been countersunk in the back are going to be toward the back of the holster. So now that I've got all 3 of those started, I can just go ahead and tighten those up. You may want to use a little Loctite on these. Loctite is a good idea if it's in your car. It's going to be vibrating, and you may want to use a Loctite on this if it's going to be permanent. The spacers tend to help a little bit with that. They act somewhat like a washer because you can compress them a little bit. But now you can see what we have here is we have some spacing between this plate, which is going to be the back wall of the Tac Bracket, where we can now actually reach down and have a grip that we want to mimic what our normal grip would be. So now, next thing we want to do is we'll get it attached to the Tac Bracket. Okay, one of our big considerations of the Tac Bracket is height. So it depends on how much height you have in your console. We have a different video for you how to easily figure out how much height you actually have in your console. I'll put a link to that up in the upper corner. But basically, the next thing we want to figure out is the height. For the direct connect plate, we're going to be using these 2 sets of holes here and here. They're not tapped, so they're not going to appear shiny. These are going to appear to be just black holes. There's 2 sets that aren't shiny, and we're going to use the inner set. And on the direct connect plate, we're going to use these holes here. That's what we're going to use to attach. Now there's 2 on this side because that allows you to cant the weapon if you like, using one of these 2 holes here. So you can use either one of those you want. Now the things we really want to consider here are height. First of all, we want to make sure that the tang of the weapon is above the back wall, so we never want to get it below so the retention arm isn't going to work. We want to make sure this tang of the weapon is at least above this back wall here. And the other thing we want to consider is, does it fit in our console? Again, know how much height you have in your console. In general though, we probably want to get the weapon as low as possible while still leaving room for the ability to put a connection screw to your console right underneath the gun. That's one of the things that really limits accessibility is the fact that one of your connections to your console is going to want to be right underneath this weapon somewhere. You can put it between the holster and the back wall. It's still going to be very difficult for anyone to get to, but right underneath the weapon is obviously the best place, because when the weapon is in and the swing arm is over, no one can get access to that screw. So we want to leave it just off the bottom if possible. And in doing that, we want to find out when we're just off the bottom, we want to make a mark right next to one of these holes, next to one of these connection holes, to figure out, or you can even mark the top. You can even mark the top of the plate and see where that is. Now, when I come back, I want to see what line that most likely matches up with, what hole that most likely matches up with. And I can see right through there, that matches up pretty well right there, and it looks like about the third hole from the bottom. Okay, so we've determined that we're going to use the third hole from the bottom on this set of direct connect plate holes here. And on the direct connect plate itself, you have two holes in the front. Now, if you go straight across, the top hole, you're basically going to set the holster up to be straight up and down. If you cant the holster backward to the bottom hole, sounds funny, we're actually going to cant the gun back a little bit. And the reason we do that is what we're dealing with in a console of the car a lot of times is we're dealing with height. And so when we cant a gun forward, we're actually going to increase the height of and increase the clearance needed. When we cant the gun back a little bit, we can actually take away something that may have a big hump here on the handle, on the grip, and we can cant that backward and actually make it lower. So your options here are kind of straight or canted back a little bit. So we're going to remove the handgun. We're just going to set this up in a standard configuration, and I like to put my hand inside the holster like this and line up that top hole on the front with that third hole there. And I'm just going to get one of my security screws here, and I'm going to get it started. I'm not going to screw this all the way down. I'm going to leave it a little bit loose so I can rotate and make sure I can line up my second hole here and find my second security screw. Line up that hole with the back and then get that screwed in. Again, you may want to use some Loctite here. On anything when you're in a vehicle, you may want to use some Loctite. That's your personal preference. But we recommend using a little bit of Loctite if you want to make sure these things don't come loose, especially with the direct connect plate where it's somewhat of a permanent. I'm going to snug that one all the way down and then snug that one down. So now, as you can see, I have these spacers in place, very solid, and I have a natural draw